Have you ever stared at your paycheck or looked at your household's combined income and thought, we earn a lot of money, so why does it still feel like we're broke? I mean, really broke, not we can't survive broke. But why is there never enough left? Broke. If you're a dual income couple earning over $100,000 a year, this question probably hits a little too close to home. On paper, you should be winning. You should have healthy savings, investments growing quietly in the background, stress-free bills, maybe even the freedom to slow down a little. But instead, most high-earning couples I've studied, and many people in my own audience, are living paycheck to paycheck. One missed paycheck, one medical issue, one layoff, one unexpected expense, and suddenly, everything feels fragile. And here's the scary part. This isn't happening because you're bad with money. It's not because you don't earn enough. It's because of a hidden financial trap built into modern life, one that quietly drains high-earning households without them realizing it. Today, I'm going to break that trap down, step by step. Let me slow this down for a second, because when people hear high-earning couples are broke, their first reaction is disbelief. They think, come on, if I made that kind of money, I'd be fine. I'd save more. I wouldn't struggle like that. But that confidence usually comes from imagining your current lifestyle with a higher income. What actually happens is the opposite. When income rises, expectations rise with it. Not just your expectations, society's expectations. Suddenly, a modest apartment doesn't feel responsible anymore. A used car feels like you're falling behind. Saying no to certain expenses feels like failure. This is where the trap quietly begins. Not with bad decisions, but with reasonable ones that stack up over time. And once you're inside the trap, it doesn't feel like a mistake. It just feels like life. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why your second income might not actually be helping you, why earning more often makes things worse, not better, and how to escape this trap without giving up your sanity. Let me tell you a story. Meet Lisa and Mark. They're smart, responsible, educated. Lisa works in marketing and earns $62,000 a year. Mark works in IT and earns $71,000 a year. Together, that's $133,000 annually. Statistically, they're doing better than about 75% of households in the US. They did everything society told them to do. They got degrees, built careers, landed good jobs, bought a house in a decent school district, tried to budget. From the outside, they look successful. But behind closed doors, their reality looks very different. They have maybe 2 months of savings, and that's being generous. When their car needed a major repair, it went straight on a credit card. Vacations? Rare. Rest? Almost non-existent. They barely see each other during the week. Both work full-time, sometimes overtime, always tired, and no matter how much they earn, it never feels like enough. Here's the important part. Lisa and Mark are not irresponsible. They're not reckless. They're not lazy. Here's the part that rarely gets talked about. Lisa and Mark don't feel irresponsible. They feel pressured. Their coworkers live in similar houses. Their kids go to the same schools. Their friends take similar vacations, or at least post about them online. So every decision feels justified. The mortgage makes sense. The cars are practical. The childcare is necessary. The credit card balance feels temporary. And because both incomes are coming in every month, there's always just enough money to keep going, but never enough to get ahead. This is what makes the trap dangerous. It doesn't feel like danger. It feels like normal adulthood. They are trapped, and that trap has a name. Economists call it the two-income trap. The term was popularized by Elizabeth Warren back in the early 2000s. She and her daughter studied over 2,000 families who filed for bankruptcy. What they discovered shocked a lot of people. Families with two incomes were actually more likely to go bankrupt than single-income families from earlier generations. What Elizabeth Warren's research really uncovered wasn't laziness or overspending. It was fragility. Older single-income households had slack. They had room to absorb shocks. Modern dual-income households don't. When both incomes are required, there's no backup, no recovery time, no margin for error. Every bill assumes two paychecks will arrive. Forever. That's fine, until life happens. And life always happens. Let that sink in. More education, more jobs, more income, yet more financial vulnerability. How does that make sense? Because the problem isn't income. The problem is commitment. When both incomes are required just to survive, you lose flexibility. And flexibility, not income, is what creates financial security. To understand how this happened, we need to rewind. Back in 1970, only about 43% of women were in the workforce. Most middle-class households relied on one primary income. Housing consumed roughly 25% of income. Childcare costs were minimal or non-existent. And here's the key detail most people miss. The second income was a backup plan. If the main earner lost their job, the other partner could step in. That second income wasn't required to survive. It was insurance. Now, fast forward to today. Dual-income households are no longer optional. They're the default. Today, over 60% of married couples with children rely on two incomes. Housing costs eat up 35 to 45% of income in many areas. Childcare can rival a second mortgage. Healthcare, education, and transportation costs have exploded. But together, they lock you into a system where flexibility disappears. We took the backup plan and turned it into the foundation. And when your backup plan becomes mandatory, you no longer have a safety net. There's a name for what happens next. It's called lifestyle inflation. But that phrase makes it sound optional, like people are being reckless. In reality, most lifestyle inflation is structural. You don't say, let's inflate our lifestyle. You say, we need a safe neighborhood. We need reliable transportation. We need good schools. We need childcare so we can work. Each decision is logical, but together they lock you into a system where flexibility disappears. Let's talk about where the money actually goes, because this is where the trap tightens. Housing prices have more than doubled relative to inflation. Healthcare costs have risen over 600% since 1970. College tuition has skyrocketed. Childcare averages $11,000 per child per year, and far more in big cities. So what happens? The second income doesn't create freedom. It gets absorbed. Every dollar gets assigned before it even hits your account. And because you earn more, you're encouraged to buy a bigger house, take on larger loans, commit to higher monthly payments. The system quietly assumes you'll always have two incomes. Until you don't. Let's make this painfully real. Say one partner earns $70,000. The other earns $50,000. Combined, $120,000. Sounds great, right? Now, let's subtract reality. That $50,000 second income gets hit harder by taxes, shrinks to about $32,000 to $35,000 take home. Now subtract childcare, $15,000. Commuting costs, $6,000. Convenience spending from exhaustion, $7,000. That $50,000 job is now contributing maybe $2,000 to $3,000 a year for 40 plus hours a week. For stress, for burnout. Suddenly, the math looks very different. Let's talk about the emotional cost for a moment. When both partners must work, guilt increases, stress becomes constant, time feels scarce. One partner can't easily step back. Career choices become survival choices. Burnout gets normalized. Money stops being a tool and becomes a leash. This is why so many high-earning couples feel exhausted but confused. They're doing everything right, yet peace feels unreachable. Here's where it gets sneaky. Gross income changes how you feel about money. You qualify for bigger mortgages, nicer cars, higher credit limits. And because the bank says yes, it feels safe. But it's not. Because when one partner gets sick, a job disappears, a parent needs care, everything collapses. Not because you were reckless, but because every dollar was already committed. This is why high-earning couples feel anxious all the time. They're running fast, but standing still. There is a way out, and it's not flashy. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Imagine restructuring your expenses so that one income pays for survival. The second income pays for freedom. Suddenly, losing a job is stressful, but not catastrophic. One partner can pivot careers. Time becomes an asset again. Wealth doesn't come from income alone. It comes from control. And control comes from margin. This is how families quietly build wealth while earning less than you. It's building your life on a one-income foundation. That means one income covers necessities. The second income builds freedom. Savings, investments, margin. It's not glamorous, but it works. And when you build margin, stress drops, options rise, and wealth quietly follows. The truth is uncomfortable. Modern society is built on the assumption that households will sacrifice flexibility for consumption. But wealth has always belonged to people who did the opposite. People who built slack into their lives. People who didn't need every dollar to survive. People who could say no. That's the real advantage. High-earning couples aren't broke because they earn too little. They're broke because every dollar is already spoken for. Break the trap, and your income finally starts working for you. If this video helped you see money differently, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because there's a lot more coming on how to reclaim freedom in a system designed to take it from you.